Why I love my school is that it has the strength, the traditions, and the foundation upon which to evolve, to become anew, so that when we next meet as batchmates and old boys around a table, we are able with authority to say that Trinity is truly great, and that emotion is backed up by the edifices, the facades, and the facilities that are within that school. I would like to thank all of you for being here today, and would like all of you to take back to your friends, your batchmates, the old boys of Trinity at large. We have the courage, we have the commitment, we have a vision. We need support. We do not own Trinity, we are caretakers. It is ours to ensure, our responsibility, our duty to ensure that Trinity benefits not just our own children, but it benefits our country, our society, and the world at large, because it is only through us and the generations of future Trinitians that the world will truly recognize how great Trinity is. Thank you.
Trinity prepared me for the many challenges I would later face in my personal, business, and sporting life. The boarding house in particular was where I learned some of my best lessons. I learned how to be a team player. We were told there was no I in the word team. We were taught to fly in formation early. We were taught to be magnanimous in victory and gracious in defeat. And we were taught to share and be joyful in giving. Please tell me if the word Gopal is still being used regularly in contemporary Trinity. I see a few people of my vintage here, and they will know exactly what I'm talking about. Gopal was a boy who was known for not sharing his food with anyone. Now that is an absolute no-no at Trinity. By his selfish habits, his name Gopal entered the vernacular at school. Even if you had enough funds only to purchase one coconut rock from Carolisa's tuck shop, you were expected to share it with a mate. To eat alone, or to do a Gopal, or be caught in the act of Gopaling at school in those days was one of the most heinous crimes you could commit. That was the spirit of giving and sharing at my time at school.
I would like to briefly introduce you to the proposals we have made for the Napier and Allison boarding house renovation projects. Napier House was the first boarding house at Trinity, with many to follow with the increase of its student population. The houses and their condition have reached a remorseful state with age, and it is a must to rejuvenate these houses to bring the old glory and excitement of being a boarder at Trinity.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Trinitian architect Mr. Chandra Daswata.
Ladies and gentlemen, my Lord Bishops and the Principal and fellow Trinitians, it's a great pleasure to stand here in front of you to present perhaps one of the great moments in the building history of Trinity. If we manage to build what we are presenting, certainly I'm presenting to you today, as the Principal said earlier, they would be probably recognized as another great moment in the history of building in Trinity. Trinity over the years have had many waves of building under different principles, We know that in the sort of late 19th century, there was a group of buildings that were built, that Napier is one of them, and there were several others. But of course, with succeeding generations and succeeding renovations of Trinity, some of them have disappeared, but those that were the best have remained. So you find the 1920s, the early 20th century work, Allison House, and the two absolutely marvelous buildings, Gaster Block and the Science Block, which I think are two of the most beautiful school buildings I've seen in this country, have survived and perhaps need to be even better protected than they are at the moment. Then of course you see the 1940s buildings that were the Fraser Block and the College Hall, which were very clearly built in the modernist tradition of the time, and therefore another sort of wave of building that happened at that time. So Trinity's got a very, very interesting history of building which reflected the particular time in which these buildings were built. And we can very clearly understand that each of those groups of people who were building were looking at what was going on around the world, and somehow the buildings that came up reflected the thinking in architecture at that time. In that way, it is very much a Trinity tradition. You don't remain in the past, you look to the future. Respice finem, we always said. And that's really what has been happening in the building history of Trinity. So I think what we are trying to do now is to perhaps leave a mark of the 150th anniversary of the school for future generations. And to that end, the work, the buildings that we are proposing would have a particular architectural style, a particular architectural look and feel, so that it's very clearly of our period. And as the principal said, in 2000, whenever it is, at the 250th anniversary, we hope that they will still remain and still be reasonably relevant, as for instance, that Gaster Block and the Science Block still are.
Well, with all the slide presentations that went on, I'm afraid that this is probably going to be the most boring, but it is probably going to be the most useful to take this project forward, because without the money, it's not going to be able to go the full way. We are looking for basically 20% of the total sum of money required, which is a sum of 110 million rupees. We have, let's say, 60 batches with us, OBAs and sports organizations and so forth. And when we break it up to see how much a single old boy should contribute, on the basis that we have an average of 150 students per batch, well, the latter stages would have more, the more recent years, and the past dwindling down in numbers, it will be something like 12,500 rupees for a 20th. So when we get numbers like 500,000, 1 million, 200,000, whatever may be, then that makes our job that much easier.
The light is on, but here we go. I think we'll begin to work now. Thank you very much for that question. As I tried to say in my speech, actually, there isn't an order of priorities for this project because all of them are equally important. The reason for starting with the sports hall is because we're ready to go with it, and it's been promised for a long time, and every single boy in the school will benefit from it. It's also a standalone project. It doesn't require other buildings to take place, whereas the other buildings all sort of interconnect. For example, we can't do Napier until we have the new dining hall and kitchen, because we're going to be losing the dining hall from Napier. Similarly, we can't do Allison until we have a new classroom block, because we'll lose all the middle floor of Allison. So it's really not working very well, this microphone, but anyway. So I hope that makes sense.